The room had a strong scent of plants and leaves. Of course, that could have been because every place I looked, all I saw were plants and leaves. Turns out, it was one of Mr. G's classic lessons. He asked me and several others to take a seat. Quickly, quickly, he called to no one in particular, his eyes focused on the mounds of leaves. Civics was the last room on the hall in Lane Land, the oldest part of the school. In this section of the building, radiators were loud, and windows stretched from the floor to ceiling. Outside, the morning sky was watery gray, and the damp clumps of leaves swirled across the lawn. Despite the loud radiators and asthmatics, I liked it here. The honors classes were smaller than classes over in the rest of the school. And over here, teachers talked with us, not just at us. They listened, too. Mr. Galifianakis had just dropped a handful of leaves onto his desk when a guidance counselor walked in. The counselor had a girl with him. New student? If so, I didn't envy her. She was slim, a little taller than me. She had cool red hair and stared out at the room with bright blue eyes. I had a situation with a new student at my old school, back in elementary. Didn't work out so well. Still, there was something about this new girl. What really stood out was her attitude. Her expression said, "I'm not having it. Whatever it is." She wore all black and her oversized t-shirt had a skull on the front, etched in pink rhinestones. If I learned one thing about middle school, it was that new kids were subject to a ridiculous number of rumors. That was just the way it was. By the end of the day, word would probably spread that she was either a vampire or in a motorcycle gang. Once Mr. G signed her paperwork and handed it to the counselor, he looked up and twisted his neck around until he spotted me. "Brianna, we have a new student. Everyone, this is Scarlett Chastain," he said. She did a bored sort of eye roll. "Just call me Red," she said. Her words came out in a drawl. Mr. G, always flustered and in a hurry, just waved her off. "Yes, dear, go over there and sit with Miss Justice. She's our class president. Perfect for guiding you through your schedule today. After school, I'll have a packet ready for you so you know what's going on." Red came over and dropped into the empty seat next to me. Oh my goodness, so much attitude. But for some reason, I wasn't offended at all. A small smile slipped quietly onto my lips. I was tickled. It would be fun to watch her aggravate a bunch of folks around here. Especially the snooty girls who were always ragging on people. Hope she'd eat 'em up. "Hey," I said. I was being cool and nonchalant. Trying to be, at least. She looked like the type who wouldn't appreciate you being all up in her business. I could understand that. I felt the same way. "Hey, right back at you," she said, giving me a sideways grin. So, the leaves?" I shrugged. Every day's a new adventure in Mr. G's class. "Awesome." The way she said it, it did not sound like praise. After that, Mr. G got down to business explaining the leaves. One of the ceremonies at this year's leadership conference involves creating laurel leaf crowns. Who remembers the purpose of laurel leaves in ancient Rome culture? Almost every hand shot up. Mr. G said, "Think about your answers before speaking." Not all the hands were waving. Everyone's except mine and the new girls. Chairs squeaked, bodies thrashed, hoping to be called on. One thing they didn't tell you was how cutthroat honors classes and advanced programs could be. Everybody wanted to be number one. Maybe it wasn't hard to understand why the rest of the school thought we were lame. Red leaned over. "And what leadership conference is he talking about?" "The whole 6th grade, every year for ever, has been participating in this conference in D.C., I said, acting all nonchalant. She asked, "So are you going?" Her voice was low and a little husky, her southern accent reminding me of how my grandmother sounded once upon a time. I liked it. With a sigh, I said, "I'm in charge of making sure we have enough money to go. And right now," all around me, hands waved in the air, eager to answer Mr. G's questions, not a care in the world about fundraising or anything. I'd read the assignment last night, but wasn't one of those kids hopping around trying to prove my smartness. I leaned over instead and whispered, "In ancient Rome,